All right, so this is going to be our part two to our selections tutorial. In part two, we're going to be going over the quick selection tool, which is this guy right here. It's the little paintbrush with the dotted lines around it. As usual, if you don't see that tool, it's the fourth one down. Click and hold, and you'll be able to find it within those options. Quick selection tool, it's going to find selections using borders and edges. So it's going to kind of need to have different colors or very specific depth of field or focus versus unfocused for it to find edges. Nice thing about the quick selection tool is it's going to do a majority of the work for you. As you click on the image, it's going to expand and slowly kind of create the selection. So if you watch the little demo on the computer right now, as he's selecting, it's doing most of the work and it's skipping and jumping to find those edges. Unfortunately, the quick selection tool isn't flawless, so that's where the next tool comes in, which is the lasso tool. The lasso tool will assist us and will allow us to add to the quick selection to kind of clean it up, add or subtract places, and make more detailed selections. So the lasso tool is the third tool down. It just looks like a cowboy's lasso, kind of a little squiggle with an oval. Again, if you don't see it, go 3 tools down, click and hold, and you'll be able to find it in there. So for the quick selection tool, we'll start with that one. Make sure you're selected on the quick selection tool. Make sure if you're using multiple layers, you have the correct layer selected. Right now, I'm only using this Ronaldo image, but if there was something in front of it, I would have to make sure I was clicked on my Ronaldo image layer so that I could just edit that layer. Once I have the quick selection tool selected, I usually like to zoom in so that whatever I'm selecting kind of fills out the computer screen. So I'm going to just be selecting his head, and a majority of his head here is filling out the box, my little workspace box, my canvas, and I am going to be kind of getting his neck down here, so that's about as big as we can get. I don't like to go too big with the brush. You can go really big, which tends to kind of select too much. So I could start really small, and I like to do little sections at a time. You can try and do the whole selection at once if you'd like to. I don't recommend it because if you mess up by accident, you can't go back one step. You have to go all the way back to the start. So when I hit Command Z, it's going to make me start over, versus me doing these little selections here where it's just adding to each time. If I then messed up, I just have to go back one little step versus the entire image. And here we have a majority of the image selected, so I kind of like how this is done. And now I'm going to be using my next tool to kind of clean it up and fix little spaces. So I will be now moving to the lasso tool. And once I click on the lasso tool, I need to just check my options bar up top. So the same thing as our marquee tool, the first option right here, just the box, is just a new selection. So that'll just be one little selection. It'll create a new selection and will not connect itself to this one if I use that option. Since I'm going to be cleaning this up and like adding this little bit of hair here and here, maybe adding his ear in, I'm going to be using and adding onto the selection option, which is the 2 filled in boxes next door. So once I click on that, all I need to do then is select the area that I want to add. So I want to add this little kind of hair on the top of his head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be real careful. I could zoom in more if I needed to. I'm going to try and select this as good as possible. That was Indy, my dog. Once I have it completed, I just need to finish the circle. And since the rest of Ronaldo's head here is already filled in, I just need to finish the circle. It doesn't matter how neat that part is. And it'll add to. And then I'm just going to go around, finish this off. Again, it doesn't need to be neat under there. Add to this little part right here. And then we'll add the ear. All right, and then one thing I didn't notice is I don't really want this green in here, so I'm going to try and subtract this part of his jersey. And to do that, just like the rectangle marquee tool we used earlier, I'm just going to be using the filled in box and then the empty box, which is our subtraction tool. So when I click on that, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go real careful along the edge of the item that I'm trying to subtract. Once I go around that edge, I don't have to be as neat, and I just have to complete the circle. And as you see, it's gotten rid of that selection. So now that I have Ronaldo's head selected, just like the marquee tool, I could edit it if I want to, but we're not going to be doing that. For this one, I'm going to show you how to cut the head out. So I'm going to hit Command C, which is going to select that selection that we just took, and then I'm going to be pasting. Oops. And then I'm going to be pasting this selection. Oh no. Into here, and then I could add it, transform it, and I can clean it up later and add it to this image. Stay tuned for part 3. Part 3 we'll be going over some more tools and options you guys can use.